Business Day today, we lean more to the youth. It's the Youth Week. We have just been celebrating Youth Day on the 12th of March. And of course, we want to understand how the ministry that is in charge of the youth is operating and how they're interacting with the youths in Zambia. We also get to talk to a duo who have actually created an app called EduLinux. Get to know more about this one. We talk to Chibamba Kanyama as well as YALI as they take to how does it go and how does it just flow when it comes to the issues of mentorship and how we are creating young leaders in our country. Are we even creating those young leaders? Do they have mentors? What seems to be the loophole between the older generation and the youth when it comes to leadership positions, be it community level, corporate level, in development, and most importantly, at a political level? We also get into the hospitality industry as we talk to one hotel that is lettuce in Lusaka. Join me for these and more. This is Business Day and I am Judy Ngulube. We start off by going to the Ministry of Youth and Sports here in Lusaka, Zambia. They have a mandate to actually be responsible for the youth in our country. In their vision and their mission is to drive their agenda for the age of 35 and below population here in Zambia. What are they doing? What are some of the challenges? And how is the theme for this year being interpreted in regards from their end as well as the end of the youth here in Lusaka? And of course, the theme being Zambian Youth, Generation Unlimited. Let's find out what is unlimited about the youth in Zambia.
Coming to youth empowerment, yes, we have given up more than 50 million from the time we started this program to the young people out there. Some have been faring very, very well. In fact, we last week, we had exhibitions and innovations for the young people. Young people were able to showcase what they are able to make and their innovations. If you came to the exhibition place, at the government complex here, they are just in the conference room. They had some booths there. The young people, they have a lot of innovation. I couldn't believe it. Some very wonderful. Some were able even to get some prizes, win some prizes, and they were able to sell their products. So in terms of innovations, they are they are doing very well. Men are doing well. Okay. So the ministry, we have empowerment programs. So many empowerment programs. For instance, we have empowered the young people. You are aware of the bus drivers. Yes. The buses that we procured, and we gave to the Public and Private Bus Drivers Association. This is an association that has membership, and this membership are young people.
How are they bringing back that money? Because we heard somewhere in the media that there were some challenges that the ministry was facing.
Of course, there are a number of challenges, and we have empowered those buses. That's what we're talking about. I'll come back to that. In terms of the challenges that we are facing. So most of the empowerment programs, we have not recovered most of the monies. I've talked about the bus drivers empowerment scheme. We also have the ICT, Information Communication Technology. There the young people are doing very well, and we just gave them in December last year. And we distributed those to the young people, about 60 groups countrywide, in the 60 districts countrywide. And the young people are starting paying this month, and it was just yesterday. Young people in Southern Province, we went to our office wanting to pay the loans. Some they have started paying.
So would you describe the youths in Zambia as seizing such opportunities that are allowing them to access financial funding to start their businesses, which they complain about most of the time?
That's what I'm saying. If you are taking advantage of these opportunities, but some, maybe they lack information, I don't know, but they can get information anywhere. For instance, we have provincial offices. We also have district commissioners. Since we don't have officers at district level, we normally channel our information, empowerment information, through the district commissioners' offices, because we don't have, and also the provincial youth development offices. We also have those structures at district level, like the coordinating committee. That committee that sits quarterly to look at the developmental issues at the district level. We also give them the information. Also, we are working, youth issues are cross-cutting. So we are working with other stakeholders and line ministries to ensure that they implement our youth programs, even when they design programs, whatever they are doing, we are requesting them to set aside some programs for the youth. Because where are the youth? The youth are not homogeneous. They are all over. The youth are in the media. The youth are on the street. There are those in agriculture. There are those who are in rural areas, in urban settings. So wherever they are, we have intervention that should cut across. And as a ministry, we cannot do it alone. We have to do it with everybody else, including the youth themselves. They must make themselves available. But most importantly, their attitude. Their attitude leaves much to be desired. Majority of them, they want either handouts, or even when they are given money, they just share and start now eating the money and get back to the street and go back to start complaining. But a few others are doing very, very, very well. That's why, as a ministry, we are working with other partners. We have, like, the International Youth Fellowship.
That was the Ministry of Youth giving us their take when it comes to the issue of interpretation of this year's theme, Zambian Youth Generation Unlimited. The involvement of the youth has been explained, as well as how this will be moved forward not only for this week or for this month, but forward in regards to how Zambia can utilize and maximize on the energy and potential that the youths possess. Talking about the youths, e-commerce, ICT, information age is something that is quite ripe and is really fierce right now in our country. I am joined by a duo of Chimuka Monde and Lucky Tembo, who have created an app called EduLinux. We want to understand where this is falling, how it contributes, and what they are doing in regards to adding to this particular sector they have entered. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to Business Day. How are you?
Great, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Okay. Let's start with the issue of the role that ICT plays in today's business environment.
Oh, yes. In today's world, everything's being driven by innovation. Amongst the factors that are driving innovation is technology. So you really have to look at the problems that you have as a country, as a nation, as a company, identify the problem. How big is the problem? Can we solve this? Can we outsource people to help us solve this? And is the solution sustainable? If it's so, then let's do this. You bring in technology, bring in the expertise, and solve the problem.
All right. Tell us a little bit more about EduLinks and how it fits into what he's just been talking about.
Great.
When you talk about EduLinux, it's an application that involves parents, schools, and pupils at the end. It's an application that will give a platform to parents to interact and to be involved in the school of the activities of their children.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you hear a theme like Zambian Youth Generation Unlimited, do you think it is talking to the Zambian youth? Do you think it's appropriate? Is it something that we are living right now as youth in Zambia, or it's something that is far-fetched?
In my
I
opinion,
need both your opinions on this one, because you're individuals on this one, isn't it?
True.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I believe it's not something that's far-fetched. The way it speaks to me is about growth, putting no limit to your growth. Whether it be in your skill set or knowledge, keep growing. Yes, you got a degree. What else can you do? Yes, you know how to do ABCD. What else can you do? You're making 1,000. What can you make a 2,000? Can you make a 3,000? What problems are you solving? Okay, you're solving problems at a community level. Can you solve them at a national level? And just keep scaling out and collaborating with fellow folks.
Okay. And from your end?
Just to pick up on that, yes, when you look at the theme for this year, I think it's something appropriate and something that we all youths can celebrate, because this means that our leaders, they believe in us and they've given us a platform to explore and to do massive things on our end.
Just on that one, having leaders having faith in the Zambian youth, when you look at it in the sector that you are exploring, Zambia has also got a huge population of youth in the rural areas. The urban areas have got, I think, an upper hand when it comes to issues of ICT and information. But in the rural areas, we have schools that don't even have computers, that don't have ICT facilities. So using EduLinux, have you explored that end of Zambia's population in terms of the usage of EduLinux in schools?
Well, we have something in the pipeline. So we usually talk about that reading books is boring nowadays compared to watching television. And they say that you're looking at still images.
Yeah.
So one idea what's in the pipeline is having an app that helps bring to life those images. So imagine reading a biology book. There's an experiment there, a diagram of an experiment, the Benson banner, the beakers and everything. It's just still. And a child looks at that, it's a bit boring. But imagine with an app, pointing your camera of the phone to that image, the image begins to play out on the phone. Now you have edutainment, where you're entertaining and both are allowing a child to learn. So that's something we're exploring that we hope we can extend to rural areas. Basically, what we need is exposure. They need exposure to these things, get them excited, get them hyped, give them that drive to learn and keep learning more and more so they can do great things.
Okay. When you look at some of the opportunities regards finance, because we haven't talked about the challenges that you went through. But maybe let's talk about the challenges that you went through when creating Edulinics, formalizing what you have together. How was that process?
Wow. It was, I think the process, it was necessary. I believe there's no shortcut to anything. You really have to be willing to go through the pain, the struggle, the hustle. One of the troubles we had was proving the idea. We just had the idea, but is it workable? Can it work in Zambia? That's one thing which I face. Whenever I'm dealing with anything ICT, can this work in Zambia? Yes, it does work in America and everywhere, but can it work in Zambia? So the basic, what we had to do was execute. You can have the most brilliant idea in the world, but if you're not executing, it's worth nothing.
Yeah.
So I'd sit down, plan out how I'm going to execute it. And then in execution, it wasn't perfect. The application was breaking down on us. You're doing a presentation, it breaks down on us. People already are losing hope in you. The credibility is being lost. So we had to go back to the drawing table and see, okay, where are we getting this wrong? And just as earlier mentioned, mentors are really, really important. Right on their shoulders, because they have experienced it all. Let them share with you their expertise, their knowledge. And that's how we approached Bongo Hive. And Bongo Hive incubated us, showed us how we're supposed to approach this problem. How do we go about it? Who do we talk to? What technology should we use? Do we have the skill set for that? Is it workable in Zambia? Is it affordable? And then let's say I've implemented the solution. Can you sustain it? Because you don't want to provide a solution 2-3 years down the line, you can't sustain it. You haven't solved anything.
So for you, for Edulinics, there was the technical end, having to
Yes.
prove it, and you know how it is to make Zambians accept this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the entrepreneur side of it as well, because there's the technical end. It should work. It should prove to be usable in the schools and to their parents as well. What about the entrepreneurship end of it? The financing, the sourcing, and of course, you need profits, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
How has that been?
It hasn't been easy. It has been ups and down challenges here and there.
Why didn't you go to the Youth Empowerment Fund?
Okay, that thought really never really crossed our mind yet. What we wanted is to have something running so that when we go there, we say we want this, that we have something to show them.
Do you think most youths are thinking the process of having to get finance from opportunities such as CEC as well as Youth Empowerment Fund is tedious
I believe so.
when you interact with others?
Yes, I believe the thought of just having to write down a business plan is already scary. How do you put everything together? Especially when you're not too familiar with the process. How do you put everything together? How do you put up a proper write-up that will actually guarantee receiving the grant? So the thought of doing that, the headache of that, just puts off certain youths.
Okay, let's wind this up like this. In regards to Edulinics, where does it fit in when it comes to lifting Zambia's economy? For you, obviously, it's education and ICT. And what are some of the recommendations you'd give to what would make a youth entrepreneur have an easier process to get to a dream or a passion that would create an income and eventually employment for others? So you can cut it in half. One would answer the lifting of the economy, then the other, of course.
Okay, lifting of the economy. Well, what we're looking at is putting Zambia on the world map. We want people to believe the developers that are in Zambia. We want people to go like, is this developed in Zambia? Zambia, the Zambia that we know, And when we have that, when we have the continent looking at Zambia, looking at, okay, they are capable developers. Therefore, what we'll have is other countries will source skill sets from here, knowledge from here. And that way, we get to explore more areas, expand out, that thereby bringing income into the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And when we talk about our passion and dreams, if you look at Edulinics, it is not something that we just came up with, pam, 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 it's done. It has to take determination and not giving up. It took us 2 years for that to be where it is now. So what I can say is that whenever you have something that you believe in that this is going to work, no matter what, just push on and do whatever it takes to do.
Okay. And to make the environment easier, in terms of recommendations to the would-be authorities that would make this process easier for every other youth in Zambia, what would you recommend?
Believe in the youth. I'm sure that sometimes an idea looks If you look at, I'll give an example of A and B. That's a company from the States where they try to offer more like accommodation. Now that plan, that idea was rejected a dozen times. Now you can imagine going through all that rejection. And now it's worth about $60 billion US. Now as an investor, imagine those who missed out. So what you have to do, it's a risky business, yes, but just take a leap of faith. If people can show, okay, they're capable of doing this, do they have the determination to do this, and mentor them. If you see that things are not going too well, see where you can fit in. So it's not give some constructive criticism so they can build from there.
And what would you say, talking about faith, what would you say to the youth who were given that fund, but then, you know, they were given monies, buses to go and run a business, and they didn't live to their ends? So this mix of youth in Zambia, the ones that are driven and the ones that are not living up to the expectations.
Yeah. What we can say is that to those youths who got those funds and never used them according to how they said it, I would say let's not be selfish, because if you do that, you're closing the door for others to get the same opportunity that you have. So if you have such opportunity, use it to your best expectation.
All right. Thank you so much for coming through, gentlemen.
Great, thank you.
All right. I have been talking to the duo, Chimuka Monde and Lucky Tembo. They are developers who have actually created the EduLinux, an app that can be used in the education sector. You're watching Business Day. Join me on the other side as we continue with the program. Thank you so much for still watching Business Day. We now get into issues of something that we touched on with the two gentlemen earlier on, issues of mentorship, issues of how much character and moral standing do the youths in the country have towards leadership and mentors? Are they there or are they not there? And what should the youth be concentrating on? How can the gap be closed between this generation and the generation of now? What distinguishes them, and how can they loop into each other's advantages and make it work in today's society? Earlier on in the week, we as TV2, through the morning live show, did talk to Mr. Chibamba Kanyama, who is Teen Vision founder, as well as YALI, who are the Young African Leaders Initiative, with Mr. Andrew Ntewe representing them. This is what they had to say.
We've heard the president give very positive sentiments in terms of how he believes that young people must play an important role. Already you are aware that in terms of infrastructure development, government has a policy of 20%. It has to be given to young people. Today what is happening is that government and the president says affirmative action going forward is that 30% of government procurement must be reserved and targeted for young people. To us, that is positive.
That's a very good pronunciation. But
that is a very good pronunciation.
The president has done his part. What about those that are supposed to push the agenda?
So now the issue is, if the president has given policy direction, where are UPS in terms of the Ministry of Youth? And from the Young African Leaders Initiative point of view, we have been very clear that the Ministry of Youth is one of the less performing ministries, unfortunately, under the President Edgar Lungu administration. And our call to the Ministry of Youth is they have to be able to up that.
Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that they're less performing?
So the biggest challenge, I think, that you want to understand that this president moved out of his comfort zone by coming up with a very ambitious youth employment and empowerment action plan of 2015. You understand that? And when we look at the action plan of 2015, which was given to the Ministry of Youth, unfortunately, we have not been able to see effective operationalization of that plan.
Mentorship is part of life. In fact, mentorship has been part of our upbringing. We were mentored from childhood by our own parents. We were mentored by our own teachers. We were mentored by our own pastors at church. We were mentored by the neighborhood. You know, there's an African proverb that an African child is brought up by the whole village. So you have the whole village orienting you. And we were oriented by the entire village. That's why some of us are aligned in certain areas, because the whole village wanted to see us succeed. So mentorship has been part of our own society. We grew up under the Kaunda regime that believed in youth mentorship through the Youth League. And the Youth League had its own contribution to what we are today, because I was a member of the Youth League, visiting conference. So through that, we developed networks, we developed the kind of courage and confidence and self-belief. These are some of the areas that we want to look at as an individual. Who is cultivating me? Because you cannot be just by abracadabra. You know, it must be an intentional thing. Somebody must think for you. Now, the challenge is that most of the young people who have been mentored by the school system, it educates them, it gives them a program, they wake up in the morning, they know what to do, they have got a course to do, they go in the evening, they know what to study, what to write for. The moment they finish university or college, they can't now know how to manage their lives. So they are suddenly disoriented. And this is where I see a huge gap, and a huge gap for mentorship. Who takes you to the next level? Who crosses you to the next level? And there are many people. There are intellectuals, there are families, there are business houses, there are government. These ones must take their role to see how they can help the young people who now finish college, want to do the next thing. How do they anchor and hook into the next thing? Who shall help them? So all you receive every morning, and I have so many requests on my Facebook page, on Messenger, a lot of requests, sir, can I see. Right now, there are many waiting at my office, young people who want to be mentored.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for still watching Business Day. The hospitality industry does fall under the umbrella of tourism. Now, when it comes to tourism, we've heard how much talk there's been from a while now that mining is one thing that earns Zambia an income, but agriculture and tourism are those other two sectors that can actually push Zambia's economy from one level to the other. But when it comes to tourism and hospitality industry specifically, how easy is it for a new hotel to break into this industry, to earn the trust of the populace that already have other preferred hotels? We caught up with one of the latest hotels in Lusaka, and this is what they had to say. All right, so that one just wraps up our show for today. Thank you so much for having stayed with us. On behalf of the entire production crew for Business Day, I am Judy Ngulube.